Let's bring in Ed Bastian, Chairman and CEO of Delta. We'll talk about why we're on this A330 that you guys have retrofitted. It'll be flying over with the new.
No, this is brand new.
Brand new.
This is brand new.
The new
first
configuration.
Flight going out today.
Let's start first off with the second quarter.
Sure.
You beat the street. Yeah. Much stronger numbers than I think a lot of people were expecting, at least earlier this year. There's so much demand out there. Could you have flown even more people if you had even more capacity?
Well, first of all, thanks for coming down, Phil. It was a great quarter, a $2 billion profit in the June quarter, best June quarter results in our history. To put that into context, if you think about the $2 billion, that's better than 85 of the 90 years of our history in terms of full year results. Full year results, just what we had in the second quarter. So top line growth is really strong, about 9% top line growth in the quarter. We also, another interesting stat, 5 of the top 10 revenue days in our history were just within the last 30 days. So we were full. We took 54 million passengers, record levels, and the team did just an outstanding job.
So square those results, which are by any measure fantastic results, square those results with the hand-wringing that we've seen by investors about the airline business over the last 3 months. You've seen the reaction of most shares. I know you guys are close to an all-time high, but when you talk with investors, and we hear from investors, there's a lot of, I'm not really sure the airline business is that strong. How do you convince people you're just not seeing that?
Well, the momentum continues. The results in the quarter are not a one-off. This is a trend line we've been seeing. Our top-line revenue has been growing about 8% a year for the last 2 years, and we're expecting to see that momentum continue into the back half of the year. So we need to continue to show the results that this is different. Raising that full year guide up to the top end of the original guide is very important for us. And free cash flow, as you mentioned, the cash flow delivery, which I think our investors really are looking for in terms of the returns back to the market. $3 billion of expected returns to shareholders, $4 billion of free cash flow for the full year.
Yesterday, Fed Chair Powell talked about, look, they see some uncertainties, especially on the global economy around the world, different markets. And you said, when you talked with us just a few weeks back, that you guys have noticed potentially some softness in parts of Asia. What are you seeing when it comes to Asia, and in particular to China, as well as on the transatlantic routes?
We've seen some softness in both in the Pacific as well as in the transatlantic. But relatively speaking, it's modest compared to the overall picture. In Asia, it's actually more Japan for us than China. China, we're up double digits in terms of passenger growth. We're cautious. We're always keeping an eye on the demand. There's a lot of supply in the market in Asia. In Europe, part of it is Brexit, part of it's macro uncertainty, part of it's more expensive, giving currency for Europeans to fly to the U.S. this summer. Yet that said, our overall transatlantic revenues also hit a new all-time high in June. And so, in context, it's not as strong as the domestic marketplace, but it's still doing fairly well.
Ed, I know Melissa's got a question for you. Melissa, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, Ed, it's Melissa Lee back in the studio. I was just wondering if you could quantify the kind of boost that you got in the quarter and maybe year to date from your competitors' woes concerning the 737 MAX grounding, and whether you think, as this grounding seems to drag out further and further into time, that benefit can actually grow for you, for Delta, going forward.
Well, as you know, Melissa, we do not fly the MAX, and clearly there was a benefit for the airline in the quarter. I don't think there was a significant benefit. Certainly, it's not explaining the results we're seeing. That's more the strength of the brand and the service our people are putting forward. To put into context, at the start of this year, we're seeing domestic supply down maybe 1 to 2 points from the originally forecasted levels. It's still growing. It's still up about 4% within the quarter. 1 to 2% is not a significant amount, and when you think about the fact that the competitors, I think, have done a very good job of reallocating their fleets and covering off on their most competitive routes and their most lucrative routes, we saw a marginal benefit. I don't think that's the reason for these numbers.
Yeah, but do you see that benefit potentially growing as the groundings extend out into time and as your competitors continue to shuffle, especially the impact on the consumer and the traveling public? I mean, you said recently that the airline industry has been traumatized by this grounding of the 737 MAX. I mean, the impact on the consumer has got to be pretty traumatic as well.
Well, it is, and I don't know when the plane's going to come back. As we've seen, it's taken longer than any of us expected to see it return to service. It's not going to be in place for the third quarter, maybe sometime into the fourth quarter. We don't have a crystal ball on that, but I do think consumer demand has shifted to Delta, has been shifting to Delta for several years now. The MAX may be contributing a little bit of benefit, but I don't think it's a significant contributor.
Ed, a couple last questions. I think some people might be looking at this and saying, why are they on an airplane? We're on a new A330. This will be flying from Seattle over to Shanghai tonight for you guys. But in particular, you've got the Delta One configuration up here, the new business class. What are you noticing in terms of the demand to fly business class? Is it that we're getting more full fare paying people and less of the upgrades in terms of, hey, I've got a bunch of miles and that's the only way I can afford to get in Delta One?
Well, this plane is our 330-900 Neo. We are the launch customer in North America on this plane, so we're the first airline in North America flying it. Last night was the first service. This is plane number 2, and we're taking this to Asia tonight. This product is fantastic. It's award-winning. The Delta One suites with the enclosed door. It won the Crystal Cabin Award last year for the best new product innovation in the marketplace. The other thing I love about this product is we're introducing the new Delta Premium Select, which is a business cabin in our international cabin. We are seeing your question around passenger demand for the product has been phenomenal. The results have been great. The Delta Premium Select is certainly one of the leading.
But are you seeing more people who are saying, I will pay for this, as opposed to I'm only going to do it if I can cash in enough miles?
No, we're seeing great demand. Overall, first class is paid. Load factors are up probably 65-70%. So when you think about that, we are saving some seats for our frequent flyers to make certain that they can upgrade. But most of it's coming in cash.